Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly by the window on a peaceful afternoon, sunlight streaming in, and wondered, how much time do I really have left? Not out of fear, not in panic, but as a simple, honest question. Maybe you're in your 70s or perhaps a little older. The kids are grown. The busy days of work are behind you. Life feels slower now, quieter, and somewhere deep inside, a part of you starts to wonder, am I still healthy? Will I be here in 5 years? 10, or is it closer than I think? These aren't silly questions. They're brave. They're real. And you deserve answers. Because what many people don't realize is your body is always speaking to you quietly, constantly, giving you little clues about the road ahead. The truth is, your lifespan isn't just written in your genes. It's written in the way you move, the way you sleep, the way you think, feel, eat, and even connect with others. No blood tests, no fancy machines, just signs. Subtle, but powerful. And if you know how to spot them, you can not only predict how long you might live, you can take steps to live better, longer, and more fully. I've spent over 2 decades as a doctor working with older adults, and I've seen the patterns again and again. 2 people, both 75, one still walking strong, sharp as ever, full of energy. The other barely making it down the hallway, forgetting things, fading fast. Same age, totally different lives. What made the difference? That's what I'm going to share with you today. Because there are 10 hidden signs, simple ones, that can quietly predict how long you'll live after 70. And more importantly, I'll show you what to do about them. How to reverse the risk. How to reclaim your time. This isn't about fear, it's about power. It's about choice, and it's about giving you the tools to live the years ahead on your own terms. So if you've ever felt that quiet nudge to pay attention to your health, if you've ever thought, I'm not done yet, then stay with me. Because your body is telling a story, and today we're going to learn how to read it. Let's begin with something as simple as the way you walk. Walking speed, the silent vital sign, speed that predicts longevity. Let me tell you about 2 men I once knew, George and Harold. Both were 78, both retired engineers. Both loved spending time with their grandkids. But if you saw them walking down the sidewalk, you'd think they were from 2 different generations. George walked with a steady, confident pace. Not fast, but purposeful, like he had somewhere he wanted to be. Harold, on the other hand, shuffled slowly, pausing every few steps. His head leaned forward, shoulders drooped, and every movement seemed like an effort. What happened over the next few years was striking. George kept up his morning walks and even joined a local gardening club. Harold stopped going out much at all. By age 82, George was still active. Harold was gone. You see, walking speed isn't just about fitness. It's one of the strongest predictors we have for how long a person will live, especially after age 70. Researchers sometimes call it a 6th vital sign because it quietly reflects the health of your heart, lungs, muscles, brain, and even your nervous system. In fact, studies have shown that people who walk faster tend to live longer, even when accounting for age, weight, or chronic illness. One large study published in JAMA found that older adults who could walk just over 1 meter per second, about 2.25 miles per hour, were far more likely to live 10 years longer than those who walked at half that pace. It's not about running marathons. It's about how well your body moves through daily life. Think about it. If you're walking slowly, maybe your legs are weaker, or your balance is off. Maybe your heart isn't pumping as strongly as it used to. Your body is telling you something before the test results do. Here's a simple way to check. Mark out a distance of 10 feet in your hallway or driveway. Walk it at your usual pace, and time how long it takes. If it takes more than 6 to 7 seconds, it might be time to pay closer attention to your strength and balance. But the good news? Walking speed is changeable. With gentle exercise, leg strength training, or even walking just 15 minutes a day, you can improve it and protect your independence. The real lesson here is this: it's not just about how fast you move. It's about showing your body and yourself that you're still moving forward in life, still going, still choosing to engage. And that brings us to another silent signal that often gets overlooked. One you carry with you every time you open a beer. Lift a bag or shake someone's hand. Let's talk about grip strength. 2. Grip strength. What a handshake can tell us about your future. I'll never forget the day I met Mrs. Evelyn at the clinic. She was 81, wore a soft lavender cardigan, and had a voice as gentle as her smile. But when we shook hands, something surprised me. Her grip was firm, not crushing, but solid, confident. She chuckled and said, "I may be old, but I still open my own pickle jars." It might seem like a small detail, but that one handshake told me more than most tests ever could. You see, grip strength is a powerful predictor of overall health and longevity. In fact, researchers have found that it's even more reliable in some cases than blood pressure or cholesterol when it comes to predicting outcomes in older adults. Why? Because your grip reflects more than just hand muscles. It speaks to your total muscle mass, your nervous system, your nutritional status, and even how well your body can bounce back from stress or illness. In a major global study involving over 140,000 people across 17 countries, scientists found that weaker grip strength was linked to higher risk of death from all causes, including heart disease, stroke, and even cancer. It's like your body's internal battery. When your grip starts to fade, it often means your overall strength and resilience are declining too. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two women both in their 70s. One can carry her groceries up the stairs. The other has to wait for help. That difference often starts in the hands, but it echoes through the whole body. Now here's the best part. Grip strength is trainable. You don't need fancy equipment. A soft tennis ball, a resistance band, or even small hand weights can work wonders. And if you pair that with light strength training, like chair squats or wall push-ups, you'll be amazed at how quickly your confidence returns. Here's the takeaway. Don't overlook the power in your own hands. A strong grip is more than physical, it's symbolic. It says, I can still hold on, I'm still here, I still matter. And just like your hands, there's something else that reveals more than we tend to notice. It shows up not in motion, but in stillness, especially at night. Let's take a look at how you're sleeping and why your sleep might be telling the truth about your health before anything else does. 3. Sleep patterns. What your nights say about your future. A few years ago, I had a patient named Walter. He was 76, polite and soft-spoken, always on time for his appointments. But one day he looked unusually tired. When I asked how he was sleeping, he sighed and said, "Doc, I'm up 3-4 times a night. Sometimes I just lie there staring at the ceiling until the sun comes up." His story isn't rare. In fact, for many older adults, sleep becomes one of the first things to slip, but one of the last things we talk about. And yet, sleep patterns are one of the clearest indicators of overall health and future well-being. Not just how many hours you spend in bed, but how deeply you sleep, how often you wake up, and how rested you feel in the morning. Science backs this up. Studies show that poor sleep is linked to a higher risk of heart disease, memory loss, depression, obesity, and even earlier death. It's not just about being tired, it's about how your body repairs itself. During deep sleep, your brain clears out waste, your muscles heal, your heart slows down and gets a break. Sleep is your body's nightly tune-up. But as we age, sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented. Sometimes it's due to pain, sometimes it's due to medications, and sometimes it's our internal clock shifting, causing us to fall asleep earlier and wake up before dawn. Let me tell you what helped Walter. We didn't go straight to pills. Instead, we looked at small changes. He cut back on late afternoon coffee. He added a 15-minute walk in the early evening. He turned off the TV an hour before bed and replaced it with soft music and reading. Within 2 weeks, he was sleeping better and smiling more. Here's the quiet truth. If your nights are restless, your days will be too. But if you protect your sleep, you protect your heart, your brain, and your energy to keep living fully. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest sleep challenge lately? Do you wake up too early or have trouble falling asleep at all? Share it in the comments below. I read every one. And speaking of things we don't always talk about, there's another surprising clue to longevity that most people ignore completely. It shows up in your social life and sometimes in its absence. Let's talk about connection, because being alone too often may be more dangerous than you think. Or fire. Social connection. Why loneliness can be as dangerous as smoking. I still remember Mrs. Clark. She was 83, lived alone after her husband passed, and came into the clinic once every few months. Physically, she was doing fine. blood pressure steady, no major issues. But each time we talked, there was something missing in her eyes. She'd say things like, "It gets quiet around here," or "Sometimes I go a whole week without talking to anyone." It was more than just sadness. It was something deeper, disconnection. Most people don't realize this, but loneliness can be just as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yes, 15. In fact, a massive study published in Perspectives on Psychological Science found that social isolation and lack of meaningful relationships were strongly linked to early death, especially in older adults. The reason? We are wired for connection. Our brains and bodies thrive on being seen, heard, and valued. When we don't have that, stress hormones rise, the immune system weakens, sleep suffers, and even memory starts to decline. But here's the hopeful part. You don't need a dozen friends or a packed calendar. Even one or two strong connections, someone to laugh with, talk to, or share a meal with, can make a world of difference. Take Mr. Ray, another patient of mine. He started volunteering once a week at the local library, just shelving books and chatting with the visitors. It gave him a reason to get dressed, leave the house, and feel useful. And over time, you could see it in his posture, his energy, even the tone of his voice. Here's the lesson. It's not about how many people you know. It's about how connected you feel. Because connection isn't just emotional, it's biological. It protects your brain, your heart, and your desire to keep living with purpose. So if it's been a while since you picked up the phone, joined a club, or just said hello to someone new, consider this your sign. And now let's shift from your social world to something even closer to home, your body. Because one of the clearest signals of future health lies in how easily you can do the little things, like standing up from a chair. Let's explore what mobility really means for your longevity. 5. Mobility. What a simple chair test can reveal about your future. A few months ago, I visited a local senior center to give a talk on healthy aging. At the end, I asked for a volunteer to try a simple test with me. A gentleman named Frank, 76, with a playful grin, raised his hand. I placed a sturdy chair behind him and said, "Okay, Frank, here's the challenge. Cross your arms over your chest and try to stand up and sit down as many times as you can in 30 seconds without using your hands." Frank chuckled. "That's it?" By the end of the 30 seconds, he wasn't laughing. He managed 5 stands and sat back down, winded. That test may seem easy, even silly, but it's called the chair stand test, and it's one of the most powerful tools we have to assess lower body strength, balance, and long-term mobility. Why does it matter? Because the ability to stand up from a chair without using your arms is directly linked to your independence. It tells us how strong your legs are, how stable your core is, and how well your nervous system is coordinating movement. People who struggle with this test are more likely to fall, need assistance with daily tasks, or even face hospitalization down the line. In fact, studies show that those who perform poorly on this test tend to have a higher risk of mortality within the next few years, even when they feel fine otherwise. But here's the good news. Like walking speed and grip strength, mobility is something you can improve. Practicing sit-to-stands a few times a day, doing gentle leg exercises, or using resistance bands can help rebuild strength and restore confidence. Let me tell you what happened with Frank. He was surprised by how hard the test felt, but instead of feeling discouraged, he got motivated. He started practicing at home, just 5 reps a day at first. A few weeks later, he emailed me, "Up to 10 now, doc, and no hands." The lesson is simple. Your strength today doesn't define your future, but your willingness to work on it does. Because every time you rise up from a chair, you're reminding your body and your spirit that you're still capable. And while we're talking about strength, let's not forget about one of the most overlooked but essential muscles in your body, the ones that help you breathe. Next, we'll talk about lung capacity and why it matters far more than most people realize. Some lung capacity, the silent indicator that speaks volumes. A few winters ago, I saw a patient named Gloria. She was 79, sharp as a tack, loved crossword puzzles and baking peach cobbler. But when she walked into my office that day, I noticed something different. She was a little out of breath, even after just the walk from the parking lot. "I'm fine," she said. "Just a little winded lately. Must be the cold air." But I knew better. We did a simple lung function test, and it showed what I suspected. Her lung capacity had decreased significantly. Not enough to diagnose a disease, but enough to raise a red flag. You see, lung capacity naturally declines with age, but when it drops too far, it becomes a serious warning sign. Your lungs don't just supply oxygen, they also support heart function, brain clarity, and physical stamina. A reduction in lung power means your body isn't getting the fuel it needs. It's like trying to drive across the country with a half-empty gas tank. Studies have shown that lower lung capacity is strongly linked to shorter lifespan, even in people who don't smoke or have diagnosed lung conditions. It's a quiet predictor, often overlooked until the signs are obvious. Breathlessness, fatigue, or difficulty with simple tasks like climbing stairs or bending over. But here's something powerful. You can improve lung function, even in your 70s or 80s. Simple breathing exercises, walking outdoors, light aerobic activity, even singing, all help keep your lungs working more efficiently. Gloria started walking daily, even if just around her kitchen at first. She practiced deep breathing each morning. A month later, she wasn't just breathing easier, she was laughing more. The takeaway? If you feel like you're running out of breath faster than you used to, don't ignore it. Your lungs are trying to tell you something. Listen early and act gently but consistently. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any changes in your breathing lately? Do you get winded more easily than before, even doing simple things? Drop a comment below and share your experience. You're not alone, and your story might help someone else feel less alone too. And now, as we continue exploring the hidden signs of longevity, there's another subtle change that often flies under the radar. Not in your muscles or your lungs, but in your memory. Let's talk about cognitive sharpness and what it's really trying to tell us. 7. Cognitive function, when forgetfulness is more than just getting older. Eleanor was a retired school teacher in her early 80s. She had a bookshelf that reached the ceiling and a mind that once held Shakespeare, algebra, and every student's name from 1973. But during one of our visits, she paused mid-sentence and frowned. "I know I came here to tell you something important," she said, "but it's just gone." She smiled to brush it off. "It's probably just age, right?" Now, forgetfulness can be normal. Misplacing keys, forgetting a name, walking into a room and wondering why. We all do it. But there's a point where small slips may be hinting at a deeper change in cognitive health. Cognitive function, our ability to think clearly, recall memories, stay focused, and make decisions, is tightly linked to longevity. It's not just about memory, it's about how well the brain communicates with the rest of the body. Even subtle changes can be early signs of something more serious, like dementia or Alzheimer's. But often they start years before diagnosis. That's why it's so important to pay attention to small shifts, feeling more confused in conversation, struggling to follow recipes, or losing track of time more often than usual. But here's the hopeful part. Your brain, like your body, can stay strong with the right care. Reading, playing music, puzzles, learning something new. All of these are workouts for the mind. So are social engagement, good sleep, and nutrition. Let me tell you what Eleanor did. She started writing in a journal each morning, just a few lines about her day. She played word games with her grandson over video chat, and she began walking every afternoon while listening to audiobooks. Not only did her confidence grow, her clarity did too. The lesson here? Mental sharpness doesn't vanish overnight. It fades slowly unless you fight for it with intention and care. Because your thoughts, your stories, your wisdom, they matter, and they deserve to stay vibrant as long as possible. Now, speaking of clarity, let's talk about something many people don't associate with aging, but absolutely should. Your weight, not in the way we often hear about it, but in a very specific way that could tell us more than you think. 8. Unexplained weight loss, when losing pounds means losing more than just fat. When Robert came in for his annual checkup, I noticed it right away. He looked thinner. Not in the proud, "I've been eating healthier" way, but in the kind of way that made his clothes hang differently. His shoulders slump a little more. He was 74, and when I asked about the change, he shrugged. "Haven't been doing anything special," he said. "Just not that hungry lately, I guess." Now, we often associate weight loss with success or better health, but when it happens unintentionally, especially in older adults, it's a major red flag. Losing more than 5% of body weight in 6 to 12 months without trying can be a sign that something deeper is going on. Sometimes it's physical, like undiagnosed cancer, thyroid issues, digestive problems, or even trouble chewing or swallowing. Other times it's emotional, like depression, grief, or social isolation. And still other times it's a slow decline in appetite that we chalk up to just aging, when really it's the body signaling distress. What many people don't realize is that muscle loss often comes with that weight loss, and that can weaken immunity, mobility, and energy levels. In fact, unexplained weight loss in seniors is closely linked to higher mortality rates, even more than obesity. Robert's story had a happy ending. We caught the change early, ran some tests, and discovered an issue with nutrient absorption related to his medications. With a few adjustments, his appetite returned, and so did his energy. But had we ignored it, we might have missed the early warning signs of something far more serious. The lesson is simple. Not all weight loss is healthy, and in older adults, it should always be taken seriously. If your pants are suddenly looser, your belt tighter, or you're skipping meals without realizing it, pause and pay attention. Your body might be speaking louder than you think. Now let's take everything we've talked about, mobility, memory, muscle, breath, and tie it all together with one final, deeply personal sign of longevity. It's not something you can measure with a scale or stopwatch, but it might just be the most powerful predictor of all. Let's talk about purpose. 9. Sense of purpose, the invisible force that keeps us alive. A few years ago, I met a man named Harold at a community garden project. He was 82, wiry and suntanned, always wearing the same faded ball cap and a grin that made you feel like an old friend. When I asked him what kept him so active, he didn't hesitate. "I've got tomatoes to grow and grandkids to feed," he said with a wink. "I don't have time to slow down." It sounds simple, but what Harold had was powerful. He had a reason to wake up each morning. He had purpose. And here's the thing, having a sense of purpose isn't just nice, it's essential. Studies have shown that older adults with a strong sense of purpose live longer, healthier lives. They're less likely to develop heart disease, depression, or cognitive decline, and they recover more quickly from illness or surgery. Why? Because purpose gives us direction. It connects us to others. It reminds us that we still matter. That purpose can be anything. Volunteering at the library, caring for a pet, calling a friend every Sunday, helping a neighbor with their garden, even something as simple as learning to play an instrument or writing down your life stories for your grandchildren. I remember one woman, Dolores, who felt lost after her husband passed. She told me, "I don't know who I am without him." Together we talked about what still brought her joy. She started knitting hats for premature babies at the local hospital. Weeks turned into months, and she found herself smiling again. Not because the grief disappeared, but because purpose had quietly taken its place beside it. The truth is, purpose isn't about grand achievements. It's about connection, contribution, and caring for something beyond yourself. So let me ask you, what gives your days meaning? What's one thing that makes you feel needed or fulfilled, or simply you? I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because your story might just light a spark in someone else's life too. Now, as we've explored all these powerful signs of longevity, from walking speed to lung strength, from memory to meaning, there's one last piece to complete the picture. Let's talk about how all these signs come together and what you can do starting today to shape your own future. We've just walked through 9 quiet, powerful signs your body may be whispering about your future. Your walking speed, your grip strength, your sleep patterns, your social ties, your mobility, your breath, your memory, your weight, and your sense of purpose. Individually, each one seems small, easy to overlook, easy to excuse, but together they paint a story of how you're really doing, a story of whether your body is thriving or quietly declining. Here's the truth that most people never hear until it's too late. Aging doesn't just happen, it accumulates. Every skipped walk, every silent struggle, every "I'm fine" when you're really not. And that's why this matters so deeply. Because if you wait until the warning sirens are blaring, it may already be too late to turn things around. But right now, it's still a whisper. Right now, you still have time to listen, to act, to choose a different path. So here's my message to you. You are not too old. you are not too late, and you are absolutely not alone. If even one of these signs resonated with you today, let that be your starting point. Not your shame, not your fear. Your starting point. Pick just one thing. Walk a little more. Call a friend, eat something nourishing, take a deep breath. Write down something that still gives your life meaning. Because small steps, taken consistently, are how we age with strength, clarity, and dignity. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these signs have you noticed in your own life or in someone you love? Drop a comment below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to find hope today. And if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in your journey toward a longer, healthier, more purposeful life. Until then, take care of yourself. You matter more than you know.